Hi, I'm Dr. Roger Cohen, and I'm here today to talk about Chapter 17 and political parties and interest groups. Political parties and interest groups play pivotal roles in our modern democracies. Political parties aim to gain control of our government by winning elections. You might see this often when you are seeing Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, Communists, Socialists, they're all running for government. And in these political parties, you see interest groups trying to influence people to get what they want. Maybe you see someone trying to save the whales or save the dolphins. Maybe you see someone trying to get their Coca-Cola product or their new tech bro thing out into community. Maybe you're seeing the Elon Musks of the world influencing money and wielding power. But this is what we're talking about. There's some key terms you need to know. Political parties is an organization seeking to influence government by winning elections. Interest groups or organizations that advocate for specific policies or interests. Party identification is the loyalty of individuals to a political party so that they vote Democratic all the time, they stay Democratic, or they vote Republican, they stay Republican. And a two-party system is what we have here in America. It's dominated by two parties, Republicans and Democrats mainly. And we want to define the word lobbying. It's when efforts are made by interest groups to influence policymakers. These lobbying efforts are done by political action groups, PACs, which are organizations that raise money to support candidates. They're done by grassroots mobilization. And we really want to focus on this one word here, this iron triangle. It's this strong relationship between interest groups, bureaucracies, and legislators. How do people who make our government and public policies interact with the people who have an interest in funding their campaigns or funding government and what they want and their needs come into conflict with the bureaucratic agencies of the federal bureaucracy? So the functions of political parties is they put together candidates for running for office. So they will look at organizing elections, recruiting, nominating candidates. They'll go out and do door-to-door knocking and get people turned out for elections. You might see people going around door-to-door asking for you to vote for this or vote for that. Some of the funniest things that I saw back when Donald Trump first got in his first term election was the idea of grassroots impeach Donald Trump movements, totally bogus movements that started. They were paid for by political action committees, and they would hire 18 to 22-year-olds to go stand in Walmart parking lots, and they would collect signatures to impeach Donald Trump. It wasn't a grassroots mobilization to make change within society. It was people like large funding donors like George Soros who would give money to organizations to hire teenagers to go out and young adults and hire people who would be paid money by the hour to go collect signatures. That's not political activism. It creates a false sense of identity for political activism. We're talking about voter turnout and mobilizations when people actually want to make true change within society. The civil rights movements in the 60s were a good example of this, when people would say, we're going to mobilize, we're going to volunteer and be a part of something in order to make significant change within our society. Political parties will give formulations. They will try to create party platforms. For example, I previously have worked on the Libertarian Party's party platform, and we would write the party platform for the Libertarian Party. And the intent with that was to create the party's view of what they wanted to do in California to create legislation. So, part of the public policies that I would put forward was things like reducing the size of government, increasing liberty for people. That has since changed since I made that input into the Libertarian Party, but it gives you an example of party formation and influencing legislative agendas. There are different types of interest groups that are important to discuss. The first is an economic group. It represents businesses or labor interests. Think your chamber of commerce locally. Think businesses like maybe the telephone companies, the energy companies, oil energy companies. These are businesses that have interest in making public policy to make sure that they operate, make money, they don't go out of business. Then there are public interest groups. Public interest groups advocate for societal benefits or environmental protection. Maybe someone wants to save the owls or save the whales or create clean water to drink. You have to ask these questions. Do you have a fundamental right to clean air, clean water? Is that a universal public interest, or is that for a specific interest or an interest group? Those kind of things are what we we discuss with public interest ideologies. What are they bringing to the table and who are they representing? Then there's professional groups like American Medical Association, which are doctors, and the Dental Association. These are reasons why you only get certain coverages paid for by Medi-Cal if you don't make enough money to be able to afford insurance. These interest groups will cap or control how medicine is paid for. There are many challenges. People are having a large increase in third party candidates. There's a decline in party loyalty. Then candidates, there's a lot of we call middle of the road candidates who will go left or right, depending on the election that they're in. And money plays a big role. People like Elon Musk were able to walk into states and spend hundreds of millions of dollars on campaigns and be able to influence elections. George Soros spends billions of dollars in candidates for Democratic parties and influences parties to be able to vote the way that one rich person is thinking, that polarizes these parties and makes them very difficult in order to be effective within society. So, to conclude, political parties and interest groups are vital to the democratic process. The parties create candidates. These candidates will have people. Interest groups will work with an iron triangle to create and put in the interest groups' ideas with the politicians and the government bureaucratic agencies. And they enable representation, advocacy, and organization of political activity because the parties are trying to, in theory, represent you and myself at the federal government level and the state government levels and the local government levels. There are many challenges to address for healthy democracy. We need to clean up the amount of money spent. We need to make sure that people are accountable. We even have this concept of term limits. Do we want term limits universally around the board? So these are all things to think about when we talk about political parties. Other nations use call the multi-member parliamentary system. So things like Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, they don't have a two-party system. They have multiple parties, and they work together to make coalition governments. So when you take a class on comparative or international governments, you'll study that further in depth. Thank you very much for turning in the lecture, and we will look forward to all your discussions on the forum board.